Hi everyone, I'm back to do another tutorial. I started another tutorial for editing a cosplay picture, got part of the way through that and thought I might start doing some what people would consider unsalvageable pictures. This is a picture that got uploaded to DeviantArt by a fellow Brisbane photographer. His username is Arcane Prototype. I'll put the link down the bottom. I'm a huge fan of the series that this cosplay is from, Madoka, and I really liked the picture and I thought it had massive potential, and I thought the fact that it was underexposed, which would mean it would end up noisy if you tried to correct it, it just sort of I didn't want to see that let the photo down because I think it has a lot of potential. This tutorial is mainly directed at people who are new to photography and who are thinking, oh, that's a really bad photo, so I'm not going to bother with that one, and pop it on the cutting room floor. So, but the techniques in this will be useful to everyone, I'm sure. So, let's have a go of fixing it. So this is the raw file directly from Christoph, and I've just imported it into my Lightroom. There's no adjustments at all. I'll show you let's go to develop. If I show you the before, you can see up here on the right hand side, and after, there's no change. So because there's such a drastic difference between the sky exposure and the main exposure, I'm going to actually create two images, one for the sky, one for the rest, and I'm going to composite them later in Photoshop. You can't really get around this if you're shooting this late into the sunset. Sunsets are wonderful things to shoot with, especially for cosplay. You get the most magical colours and the most amazing light, but the light moves very, very fast. So unless you can rattle off settings just by looking at something, thinking, oh yeah, I need to reduce that by 2 stops, or I need to increase that aperture, it moves too fast. So when you're just beginning, or you're just playing, or you're on auto mode, or you're on aperture priority mode, it's really hard to get an exposed shot of the sunset. The other way to do it is to flash your subject and then expose just for the sky, which I do a lot with my photography. Okay, so let's have a go. So the first thing I'm going to do, because the first photo I'm going to expose for the sky, the first adjustment, so I'm going to make a new layer, not in Photoshop yet. I'm going to make a virtual copy of this. To do this on a Mac in Lightroom, it's Command and then the button for quotes. It's just to the left of the Enter key. And now I've got a virtual copy, so I've got my original here, virtual copy here. So let's do the sky. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reduce the exposure a little, because this is exposed nicely here with the colours, but it's still a bit blown out, so I'm going to reduce this. We're going to go full stop here, thereabouts. I'm going to increase the contrast. You'll see the colours, they'll really pop once all this is done. And we've got a bit of a blowout here with the highlights. You can highlight these little arrows here and it'll show you the worst of both the shadows and the highlight blowout, but I still think that needs more. So I'm going to bring the highlights right down to about, I'm going to try about there, but I might change it later. Okay, there's a bit too much shadow. Sorry, there's not enough shadow, so I'm going to bring that down a little. The whites are a bit grey in this. Let's see what this does. Oh, it makes them greyer. Yeah. We'll put it about so. And this will be different for every picture, obviously. And just ignore what's happening here with the subjects because that's not relevant. Blacks. I'll bring them down a bit for a bit more punch. Okay. About so. Now the colour. Increase the vibrance. About there. Saturation not so much, but a little increase. I'm going to take this back up, it's a bit dark. Let's try that about there. Okay, now the colour. The next thing I do after I do the initial exposure is I play with my colours. So here in this section I'm going to select yellow and we're going to increase it, the saturation of it. About there. Same for the orange, because there's some oranges in the sky too. Cool. Okay. I use split tone a fair bit. I try not to overuse it because it can look a little bit hipster. It can look a bit Instagram. But I do use it, or sometimes I'll do curves in Photoshop. More often than not, I'll use this, only because I don't have the patience for curves in Photoshop. So I want my highlights and my shadows to have a tint of red or pink. That's what I'm thinking with this, because there's too much green in this. Actually, there's too much green in this. Hang on, tint. That's gross. No, tint. Add a bit more pink. And I'm going to add a bit of warmth with my color, white balance. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay. Now, where was I? Split tone. So I want red highlight. So here's your color, and here's the amount that it's going to be. Split tone is pretty easy. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to bring this up to about there. And I want the same color in the shadows, so I'm going to go red. I'm going to bring it up about, that's a bit intense, hang on. Let's have a look through this. Oh, no, it's alright. You can always taper this back. When I import this layer, what I often do is I'll import the layer into Photoshop. I'll import this layer into Photoshop, and if one of the layers is too intense, I import the original back in as well, so that I've got something to go back on. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Instead of going back to this one, making a copy, you can see the difference before and after. And I just want to show you the split tone before and after, because that's quite nice. It adds a completely different feel to the photo. Sunsets can often have pink or red in them. This one didn't really. Oh, it has a bit of it down there, but I wanted to really crank that up for sort of a video game post-apocalyptic kind of look. So I'll have the girls with a sort of a pink tone as well. So, like I was saying, instead of going back here and now exposing the girls, I'm going to make a virtual copy of this version, because it's already got the color saturation and the white balance warmed up and everything else, especially the split toning. And if I don't like it, I can always change it. So again, make another virtual copy. I don't know why it's reordered them, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, now all I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to bring the exposure up by at least 4 stops. How many can I go? I'm going to go about, I might change this about there. Already, if you can envisage this sky with this photo, yeah, we've got a better looking picture than this. And if you just do the exposure on this, just to correct it and add some noise reduction, it's going to be okay, but it doesn't have the mood. Okay, now, before I do anything, I'm just going to fix up this noise. Lightroom tends to add automatically 25 amount sharpening, and I don't know why it does that. I'll take it off. Noise reduction is better if you zoom right in. So I'm in at 1:1 here. You can either use the navigator up here, or you can just click your photo and it zooms in. Most of the noise here doesn't look like color noise, so I'm going to play with this one mainly when it wants to react. Okay. Okay, that's better. Obviously, the more noise, if anyone's played much with noise reduction, you lose a lot of your detail, like your sharp lines, but that's okay, because we've got a group photo here that's taken from back behind the girls, so it's not like a facial shot where we need heaps of detail in the hair and in the skin. I'll try the colour a bit, but I don't know if I want it. Oh yeah, okay, there was a little bit of an improvement there. I'm going to go more. I'm going to play with this one. Normally I just increase these to about a fourth of the way along the bar, and that's enough with most photos, that especially ones that are taken at night. But this was quite underexposed, so it's going to need a lot more. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, let's put it back. Hello. Okay, you can tell this looks a bit soft with the noise reduction, but I don't think it matters, and if you hadn't watched this tutorial you probably wouldn't even notice. So I'm going to go with that. Now, colours. Colours I'm pretty happy with, but I might tone back the split toning a little. Now, I may go for yellow highlights now that I've played with this. And I'm going to crank the pink a bit more in the shadows. Now, if I take the split toning off, you can see the difference in the mood of the photo. So many people overuse split toning to create an Instagram type Polaroid hipster look, which does look good. It looks fantastic in some photos, but it can be overused, and the temptation to reduce your saturation as well usually ends up making photos look very generic. They look good, but they look generic. So I'm trying to use the split tone in this photo to add the sunset colours and the mood rather than to make it look old and 70s. Okay, I'm going to increase the clarity a bit now because I've softened it so much. Bring the vibrance up a little bit. Saturation a tiny bit. More contrast. I'm going to put this whites back up. It worked in the sky, but it doesn't really work in the costumes. It's making the skirts look grey. So I'm going to just crank this back up. The brush tool. A very good tool in Photoshop. Oh my god. It is actually called Photoshop Lightroom officially, as you can see, but I've got to stop calling it Photoshop. So the brush tool lets you adjust sections of the photo. It's a really powerful tool, and if you've got say you flashed 3 people from the right and the person on the left is a bit dark, you can bring up their exposure to make all 3 look perfectly exposed. There's a lighten tool which I've just adjusted to a soft lighten. I'm just going to see it's too intense. It can create noise too, so you've got to be careful. Flow intensity I usually have around the middle to 3/4. I'm going to increase this a little. As you're using it, it doesn't look like it's doing a huge amount, but it is, and it's when you turn it on and off that you really notice it. Now when I export this into Photoshop, a lot of these horrible details here that you can see when I go to 1 to 2 zoom, move her over there. So if you have a look at the girl with the blue hair, there's all these weird spots on her back. They might not be in there when I export this to Photoshop, or they might be. I've had some strange experiences with the noise reduction tool, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. The first thing I would normally do to this photo is crop it so that we don't have this space here, but if I crop it now, I'm going to lose detail in the sky, and I'm going to lose the detail around the girls with the rocks and the metal that I don't want to lose. So I'm actually going to crop it in Photoshop and use the clone, the content aware tool to recreate the edges. It's a really powerful tool. Alright, I'm almost happy with that. I'm going to go back in and adjust the colours of the actual costumes. I want more pink in Madoka's costume. It's another thing you can do too if you're someone that tends to desaturate photos, which is one of the first things that a lot of people do when they edit cosplay photos. If you're going to do that, crank up the colours of something else so that it doesn't look so washed out. So I'm going to increase the pink there. I'm going to see if I can get some yellow back in the hair here. A bit of blue. just watch what these tools do to the other areas of the photo. If they do something strange, you can go in and actually use the colour tool on a brush. If that happens, I think the red is intense enough there. Pretty happy with that. Okay, let's bring them into Photoshop.